The film begins with a voiceover narrating the story of a man who came face to face with death, and when pushed to the limit, stood up and defeated an entire army, leaving a river of blood behind. 6 months earlier, we see this man locked in a cell at a police station. The guards take him out, chaining him up for safety. The narration continues, explaining that in 1954, the French withdrew from the region, and before the Americans arrived, Indochina became a haven for European war criminals and men with bounties on their heads in the West, like the protagonist. In this context, high-ranking officials organized fights between inmates for their own entertainment. During one of these fights, the protagonist, Tillman, easily overpowers his opponent and knocks him out with a powerful right hook. However, the executioner warns him that the next fight will be different. He will use a knife to balance the odds. The prisoner protests, reminding him that he was promised freedom if he agreed to fight, but the executioner replies that this fight is his only salvation. Despite his efforts, the prisoner is defeated and, as punishment, the executioner kills him. When the guards return Tillman to his cell, they shout at a woman to step back. Tillman responds by headbutting one of the guards, who hits him with a weapon, though none of them dare to confront him further. Hours later, the woman returns and, after apologizing for what happened, offers him some fruit and conversation. Intrigued, Tillman asks her why he's been kept in such a small station cell for 3 years. The guards respond that he already knows the reason. Despite his cold demeanor, the woman insists that talking to him isn't a waste of time and promises to come back. Meanwhile, the station's colonel meets with a man named Harrison, who offers help in exchange for Tillman. Harrison represents the intelligence service, seeking to extradite the prisoner to face charges in Great Britain. However, the colonel denies holding any prisoner by that name and dismisses him. The next day, the woman, Isabel, returns to speak with Tillman. She tells a story about how she once rescued an abandoned dog as a child, even though everyone believed it was going to die. She relates this to him, suggesting that some beings aren't meant to be locked up. Tillman mentions that he's seen her bring flowers to the colonel, even though he always throws them away. Their conversation is interrupted by a guard who separates them. Later, Tillman is brought before Steiner, who explains that in 1953, Tillman assaulted a superior officer and was sentenced to 6 months, yet he has been imprisoned for over 3 years. In the North, he's considered a former legionnaire with a bounty on his head. In the South, he's a former convict without a passport. His tattoo is a life sentence, marking him as an enemy of the state in Britain. Steiner introduces him to other notable criminals in the room: Pierre, a veteran of the Spanish Blue Division, the corporal, a former Vietnamese paratrooper now wanted as a traitor, and Mr. Yellow, who fought to the end in Berlin. Steiner finally offers him freedom, though he warns that Indochina will be his last chance. Pierre also offers him a way out, saying he might need someone with his skills in the future. With few alternatives, Tillman accepts. Back outside, he visits Isabel's home, where he meets her adoptive father, Valentin. Valentin recognizes his name and tells him that, in his youth, Tillman was a promising Irish boxer who vanished without a trace. He also explains that he's cared for Isabel since she was a child because, unlike Tillman, she still believes in people's goodness. Although it's clear they want him to leave, Valentin reveals a shocking truth: Colonel Steiner is Isabel's biological father. Steiner, in the past, denied being her father after suspecting that his wife had been unfaithful. Valentin chose to adopt and raise her as his own daughter. As time goes by, the protagonist begins a relationship with the love of his life. One day at the bar, 2 men start arguing. Martin steps in to calm them down, but one of them breaks a bottle over his head. As he tries to defuse the situation, a well-dressed man challenges him to a fight, and the rest of the group attacks him. However, none of them manage to land a single hit. Martin easily dominates them. Though he initially gives them the chance to stop, when they persist, he loses control and brutally beats them all. Hours later, Pierre and his crew arrive at the bar. They explain that the well-dressed man was a well-known boxing champion they had brought in at great expense. Pierre warns Martin that he has just messed with one of the most dangerous men in Indochina, but offers him a solution. If he agrees to fight for them, he can enjoy a life of luxury. Martin refuses and insists he will stay with Isabel. Before leaving, Pierre suggests he reconsider and adds that the colonel might be interested in buying the bar. The next day, in order to protect the people he loves, Martin decides to accept the criminal's offer. After informing the colonel of his decision, they arrange a rematch with the champion. In the fight, Tillman once again proves his superiority and knocks out his opponent in under 2 minutes. Meanwhile, Harrison, the man who had been talking to the colonel, continues his investigation into Tillman. During a conversation, Valentin asks why they are so eager to find him. Harrison reveals that Tillman was responsible for triggering explosives that killed many people, and if Valentin provides information to help capture him, he could earn £10,000. In the meantime, Tillman keeps participating in fights against various inmates, defeating them with ease. Some fall with a single punch, while others can barely withstand his blows. Later on, the colonel gives Tillman his share of the earnings and tells him that if he fights in the United States, he could earn far more. However, he also warns him that his situation is complicated. He's facing a death sentence in a military tribunal and is being hunted by British intelligence. In a later scene, the colonel writes a letter to Isabel. In it, he confesses that she is the daughter of a woman he once had a relationship with, but he lost all respect for her due to her infidelity. Though he never sends the letter, it reveals the deep resentment he still harbors. Later, Valentin informs Tillman about the British agent's presence and gives him a fake passport, telling him he can use it to start a new life with Isabel in the United States. The next day, the colonel arranges a fight and makes it clear he needs to balance the betting, so Tillman must throw the fight. Tillman accepts the condition but demands a large share of the profits in return. Valentin, meanwhile, bets everything he has on Tillman, hoping to gather enough money to buy a bar in Thailand and start a new life with his family. However, his wife becomes furious upon learning of his decision, accusing him of acting recklessly. On the day of the fight, Tillman follows the agreed plan. Though he lands a few punches, he holds back from delivering a final blow, allowing his opponent to win. Later, at the bar, Pierre shows up to claim Valentin's belongings since he had bet everything on Tillman. When Isabel finds out the fight was fixed, she confronts the men, but the situation quickly escalates. When Isabel strikes Mr. Yellow, he hits her back, prompting Valentin to draw his weapon. Pierre disarms him and without hesitation shoots him at point-blank range, killing Valentin and others present. The colonel arrives at the scene furious and condemns the killings. At that moment, Tillman appears. Pierre, seeing him, shoots him with a shotgun, believing he has killed him. They later bury Tillman alongside Isabel, unaware of what's coming next. After the initial events of the film, the story picks up with Martin and Isabel surviving, since the shotgun blast did not hit any vital organs. Martin, a man who had never been religious, found a reason that day to turn to God. In his desperation, he made a pact. He offered his own life in exchange for Isabel's. He promised that if she survived, he would dedicate his life to seeking justice against those who had wronged them. To fulfill his mission, he left Isabel in a safe village while he recovered from his wound. During that time, he trained to endure pain and strengthen his resolve. Once healed, he began his revenge. His first stop was the bar, where he confronted Amarillo's guards and defeated them with ease. As a message, he brought one of their heads into the establishment. Upon seeing Martin, Amarillo fled in terror while his men tried to stop him, but Tillman, relentless, killed them all. Realizing that Martin was still alive, Amarillo warned Pierre and the colonel. Pierre tried to calm him down, assuring him they would kill him again. The colonel, on his part, devised a plan. He contacted a friend to obtain more weapons and secured his money at the villa. Despite mobilizing an entire squad, Martin eliminated them all with a single shotgun. In a final attempt to survive, Amarillo offered money in exchange for his life, but he tried to trick Martin with a hidden weapon, which led to his death. Tillman then took a few grenades and destroyed the colonel's resources. Afterward, Martin headed to the police station, whose main entrance was heavily guarded. He chose to infiltrate through the back, silently eliminating the guards along the way. When a large group gathered in one area, he used grenades to create an explosion, disorienting them and allowing him to strike by surprise. One by one, he took them down until he reached the colonel's office. Although the colonel tried to defend himself with a machine gun, he couldn't land a single hit. Out of options, he threw down his weapon and was left at Martin's mercy, who ended his life with a sword. At that moment, Bon appeared, a skilled fighter who challenged Martin to a death match. Bon proved to be more skilled than others Martin had faced, putting him in a difficult position. But using his experience, Martin realized he had no other choice, grabbed a weapon, and ended the fight. Martin then continued his search for Pierre. During an ambush involving automatic gunfire, he managed to mislead and eliminate the guards from the rooftop. Eventually, Pierre tried to confront him directly, but Martin, always clever, ambushed him and cornered him. They fought hand to hand. Pierre used a knife and managed to injure Martin, but Martin grabbed a tool to block the attacks. After an intense and balanced fight, Martin identified a weakness in Pierre's legs and focused his strikes there, bringing him down with a powerful blow. To finish him off, Martin used Pierre's own knife to kill him. With Pierre dead, Martin retrieved a bag full of money and decided to take it to the village where Isabelle was staying as compensation for the abuse they had suffered. The legend of his revenge spread quickly, and several locals, resentful toward Pierre, helped him during his mission. In the final scene, the British agent appears and offers Martin an alternative to his fate. Although he still faces a murder trial in London, the agent proposes that he work for them as part of an elite team. Acknowledging his talent as a relentless killer, Martin accepts his fate, understanding that this ability was now a part of who he truly was. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell so you never miss a recap. See you in the next one.